In December 1961, this singing legend, that's right, the irreplaceable Tony Bennett, sang his signature song for the very first time at the Venetian Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco. It brought the house down. Nobody had really heard this particular version before, but it took some time before it became an absolute monster smash around the world. Tony Bennett had well and truly arrived. And everybody just knows the song, don't they? It doesn't matter what generation you're from. It's so indelibly stuck in your mindset. I was lucky enough to meet and become friends with that wonderful legend over a number of years. And I've got to tell you, he was everything that you could have wanted him to be. A superstar of the first order, but truly just kind, gentle, and so full of so many great Hollywood stories, as you can imagine. He told me that he actually only met Bing Crosby the one time, and apparently Bing, in a rare moment of, shall we say, being nicer to other singers, said, to me, you're the very best there is. Tony said it just left him simply stunned because, of course, for his generation, Bing Crosby was the tops. Many people know that Tony Bennett became such good friends with Frank Sinatra. They both got on incredibly well. But even though Tony kind of liked the idea of going into movies, it was Frank that said he was better suited to live performances, and Tony agreed. What he really liked the idea of, and which he did, of course, later on in his career, popping up in all sorts of variety of TV specials alongside, say, Doris Day, and, big movies themselves like Remington Steele, the TV series, all sorts of stuff. He just wanted to dip his toe in. He said he had no desire to spend weeks and weeks on location, only trapped in a movie studio. One of these big breaks, though, that he told me was this. Way back at the very start of his career in the 1940s, where he got a big break, it was alongside another wonderful voice, Rosemary Clooney. That's right, the relation to none other than George Clooney. And he told me this. He said, it was truly hard work because the radio program was live for 4 to 5 hours and you literally could not go anywhere, and the band would call upon you at any given point. So you had to know most of the songs because everything was done live, not pre-recorded. And he cited this as the real reason as to how he developed his style, his skill, the patter, the way with a live audience, that sort of stuff. Because he said in the radio studio, they would have, just a small audience, but something, of course, to get the momentum going. And he cited this as he came over here to the United Kingdom to appear as a guest judge alongside Simon Cowell on the British TV talent show X Factor. Tony told me his signature tune, I Left My Heart in San Francisco, was not really meant to be his signature tune because he'd actually recorded Once Upon a Time as the A-side, and he recorded that way back in 1962 at the CBS recording studios. Now, when they recorded I Left My Heart in San Francisco, Tony had actually told the producers that it went very well in the live arena, but they said, no, this is the hit. This is the one we're going to. But as ever, it's people power and the DJs of the time that made that his signature tune and a worldwide, mega smash that's lasted all of these years. In the latter part of Tony's career, he teamed up very successfully with the girl of the moment, none other than Lady Gaga. They got on incredibly well. And he did team up with none other also than Amy Winehouse for a duet, and told me that he thought she was incredible, almost on the likes of Billie Holiday. But it was the other people that Tony really got inspired by. He said that the classiest guy he'd ever met in Hollywood was none other than Cary Grant. But Fred Astaire simply oozed talent. All of this is down on tape. We had very lengthy conversations. But my most famous conversation with him, for me at least, would be the day we sat down in the world famous Dorchester Hotel. He wasn't in a particularly good mood. Lots of executives around the room from his record label, Sony Records. And we were there to do a 30-minute plus interview, all about his career. He didn't seem too keen on meeting me. This was the first time. But what really evolved was the fact that obviously I'd done a lot of homework, I knew of his talent already, and by the end of it, I'm really thrilled to say and share with you, we got a huge round of applause all started by the legend himself, so much so that Sony Records wanted to put out the interview as a TV special across America. More about that later. But just to recap, Tony Bennett for me was a brilliant friend, and as I say, it was a pleasure to really know him. Another lovely memory was when he came back over to London to do concerts at the world famous Royal Albert Hall. He said, "Oh, do come by and enjoy the show and come back and say hello. There's a small party going on afterwards." A small party. Wow, this party had literally everybody who was anybody backstage at it, and we were lucky enough to film it. You know, you turned around and there was the esteemed broadcaster, David Frost, the delectable Joanna Lumley, big names like Debbie Reynolds. You know, he certainly knew how to draw a crowd. He filled the Royal Albert Hall with no problem and sang acoustically, literally bringing the whole hall to a standstill. There truly never will be another Tony Bennett, but what a lovely legacy of wonderful music he left behind. Now, I'm sure like me, you can't get "I Left My Heart in San Francisco" out of your head. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.